Dallas as a location for a city is probably the last place anyone would have expected a great cosmopolitan center to grow up in. There are no natural beauties, there are no rivers, there are no mountains, there are no waterfalls. So the thing that made the city was the people. And the people of Dallas, I think, recognized that if they wanted a great city, they had to build it. It wasn't just here for the asking. And I think there has been this determination that whatever we do, we're going to do first class or we won't do it at all, which distinguishes Dallas from a number of other cities which I prefer not to mention.
What they call labor-intensive activity.
This is the north side of downtown Dallas, Texas. Over to our left is the site of the largest single downtown real estate development in the modern history of our country. In Dallas, it's called the Arts District, and it has a final price tag of more than $1 billion. The truly remarkable aspect of this development, huge even by Dallas standards, is that it came about because the people of Dallas wanted a new place to display their art.
Well, I think first it was a question of getting the trustees of the museum to really agree that it was the right thing to do, to move a whole museum to a different location. That was a big one, but it played right into what the city itself wanted in the way of downtown redevelopment in terms of attraction of convention visitors, economic benefits. It tied into a lot of sort of mainstream themes of Dallas, and as that became established, we started going then to the public to make sure that they, in fact, it was more than making sure, they were going to make it happen.
This is Channel 5 Action News.
In many ways, this bond election is a last hurrah for many arts projects which were defeated last time around and will die if they aren't passed this time. Volunteers are scrambling at the bond campaign headquarters, making phone calls, reminding supporters to vote.
Oh, are you? Well, we can expect a yes vote from you then.
Campaign signs decorate street corners, a rather ordinary final day in what's been an extraordinary campaign. Such a small Dallas bond election has probably never seen such a hard sell.
The commitment was not just to building a new museum, but the commitment was also to starting this arts district in downtown Dallas. The biggest attraction in Dallas for years has been the Kennedy assassination site, and I think we can do something a little better than that. That's awfully maudlin to have as your main tourist attraction.
The relationship between the Dallas Art Museum and tourism in Dallas dates back to the Great Texas Centennial Exposition of 1936.
The Midway. We're on the Midway. Pretty girls, funny shows, thrilling rides.
Visitors to the Great Fair had many exciting things competing for their time. There were dinosaurs, there were square dancing horses, there were large citrus fruits, the wonders of technology, unusual fish, the largest steer in captivity, and of course, the newly built Dallas Museum of Fine Art.
The beautiful lagoon. Across the way, there are many splendid buildings, including 2 fine museums.
Well, it was a pragmatic decision. It was one way to get the building built. I imagine that the board of directors of the Art Association were so glad to get into a permanent home that they would have gone almost anywhere. And they were able to get it, and get it then because of the movement for the Texas Centennial and the bond issue that was being passed. It was an easy way to get it into reality.
So, for the next 37 years, Dallas art lovers trekked out to the fairgrounds to visit their little museum across the lagoon. Then one day,
I had a call from Betty Marcus, who asked me if I would come over and talk to her a little bit about the directorship of the Dallas Museum. And this was in New York, and I said, well, I really didn't want to do that because I'd seen the Dallas Museum, and I'd been here about a year before for an art education conference, and had gone out to the fairgrounds and visited the museum, and had been kind of surprised to see such a dinky museum for a city the size of Dallas. So I had not been overwhelmed. And she said, well, come on over and talk about it anyway, because, you know, in Dallas, it's not a story of what is, but a story of what's going to be. Well, you know, the old museum wasn't all bad. It had a nice Art Deco style to the building, nice high ceilings and marble floors, and it had a pleasant feeling. Most of the visitation was looking for the bathrooms. That was one of the key things you had to come to grips with, was that the fair audience was looking for air conditioning and comfort. And a lot of people who were not confirmed museum goers thought of the fairground location as a once-a-year, 2-week fair location. They didn't think of it as a cultural center or a part of their daily life. It was like driving out to the fair once a year. And then there was a key moment when we acquired the John and Nora Wise collection of pre-Columbian gold and so forth, 2,500 objects. And it was clear that, my gosh, this museum was going to attract substantial art acquisitions.
Many people who had built beautiful collections in Dallas were loath to think of giving a collection that might be valued at $1 million or $5 million to an inadequate museum with inadequate air conditioning and humidity controls out at Fair Park. And they had frankly said, unless you build a new museum, we're going to give our collections to a city where they have an adequate museum.
In 1976, as it is in this picture, the northeast edge of downtown Dallas was still a largely underdeveloped, sub-industrial nowhere land. Running down the middle of the district was a forgotten little lane named Flora Street. A special task force of the museum's board of directors decided that the perfect site for a new building was here, at the end of Flora Street. Architect Edward Larabee Barnes was engaged to design the structure. And despite the high-rise downtown setting, architect Barnes' ideas were definitely low-rise. He envisioned a 1.2-acre sculpture garden with trees and water fountain walls. A large barrel-vaulted gallery would be the focal point for contemporary art. Then on a slightly higher level would be galleries for paintings. And then finally up to a third level for the museum's pre-Columbian and African collections. The question facing Harry Parker in 1977 was how to turn Ed Barnes' plans into steel and glass and stone.
The basic deal was that the city would pass bonds that could be used to acquire land and construct the building. Private sector would raise funds that would match the city funds, and also it would raise endowment funds which could help with the programs of the building and the operations. And then it would, the major collectors would promise that their collections would ultimately go to the museum.
And as might be expected in Dallas, seeing vacant land next to a new museum was an occasion of enormous possibilities in the minds of developers.
I won't say it's the only chance, but it's the main chance that our city has to build something which will give it a character which can extend for many decades or longer as that little component part of our city which physically represents our character in other parts of the country and world. The planning of it with Sasaki as the master planner, with Barnes on the museum and Pei on the Symphony Hall and SOM on our building and the other major national architects coming together for the first time to plan one district in a downtown area with a very favorable budget is really going to result in something which you may not be able to perceive today, but it won't be very long before you'll be able to perceive it as really the center of the city.
So, in the fall of 1979, people with big plans were holding their breath as Dallas citizens went to the polls.
And they all went into the privacy of voting booths and looked at little levers and pulled the one that said yes for a new museum.
Dallas art lovers rose to the occasion. The bond issue passed. $24.8 million would be provided by the city of Dallas to match an equal amount of private capital to build and operate a $50 million museum. This meant two things. Construction began on the new building, and Flora Street's developer planners got the message that the people of Dallas were ready to go back downtown.
Oh, the boulevard, the main drag of the district, Flora Street, is about 2,000 feet long. At one end is the museum with the vaulted roof, and at the other end is proposed to be a major fountain. All along the way are a mixture of public-private uses and public uses. It really will be the focal point of the city. When your grandmother comes to Dallas, that's where you're going to take her. If you're a visitor to Dallas, that's where you're going to want to go to dinner.
If a great city needed a great art museum, then the new art museum needed a great centerpiece for its great gallery.
The huge vault of the building just created a lot of empty space, and that something had to go up into the vault that would take the viewer and use all that space, that otherwise it was just a big shell up there. And 10 years ago, you might have thought of asking Calder to do it or something like that. But as we got talking about it, the curators, Sue Grays and Steve Nash and myself, thought that Oldenburg had the capacity to deal with a huge space.
Klaus Oldenburg does have the capacity to think big. His giant pop sculptures are based on common objects and are most often designed specifically for the site where they will be installed. This is Oldenburg's Crusoe Umbrella in Des Moines, Iowa. In 1982, after coming to Dallas and examining the great barrel-vaulted gallery, he accepts the commission and promises a new work for the museum's opening in the spring of 1984. By fall of '83, with construction of the new building practically complete, the museum staff faces a huge logistical challenge: the move. This painting by Frederick Church dates from 1869. It is called The Icebergs. A well-to-do Dallas resident whose identity has been kept a secret paid $2.5 million for the privilege of donating it to the museum. From Boston, the Fine Arts Express, a specialty arts moving company, arrives to help the museum staff wrap and pack the more than 10,000 art objects. In the hands of the Fine Arts Express crew, each painting, such as this priceless Degas, is taken gently from the wall and wrapped for shipping.
This is a special case because it's a pastel and it's under glass. In most cases, we tape the glass. You can't tape pastels because when you pull the tape off, it creates a static and the pastel itself will come up right up to the glass. And most paintings you see we pack face down, and you can't do that because then again the weight of the pastel would also touch the glass. And any static just would pull all the chalk right off of the pastel and onto the glass. So in this case, we're going to lay it down and we'll ride it face up in a special box after we wrap it, and hopefully it'll be okay.
1,500 miles away in North Haven, Connecticut, Klaus Oldenburg is hard at work on the Dallas Commission, entitled Stake Hitch. Although Oldenburg's studio is in New York City, it is here at Lippincott Incorporated that his sculptures are fabricated.
I would say that I like to see sculptures painted, just like I like to see sculptures have texture. And this particular sculpture is unusual in relation to the other works in that it has more texture and more color than any of the other sculptures have had.
For the hitch of Stake Hitch, Oldenburg has designed a huge knotted rope made from 3 lengths of plastic foam-filled air conditioning duct, wrapped with smaller strands of foam rubber and covered with resin and blown fiberglass. The stake of Stake Hitch is made from large aluminum plates which have been formed and welded together.
You take it down about that far, then I can come along with it. We have been looking for some way to put texture onto metal, and this is the best way that we found. It comes in 2 components, which are yellow and blue, and when you mix them, that's where you get that green that we had before. And you ladle it on, and then I rollered it out with a very rough roller, and then I scraped on top of that, and it sort of sinks down into itself, and the end result is an effect which looks much heavier than the aluminum that it covers. It looks as if the piece has been cast in one big piece, and the look of it gives it a very heavy look. The surface gives it a very heavy look. Can you go more with this one?
Meanwhile, back in Dallas, the Fine Arts Express truck is bringing load after load of paintings, sculptures, textiles, prints, as well as pre-Columbian and African objects to their new home. There are, of course, notable exceptions.
He's a wood mask. He's the only one in North America that hasn't been in a burial situation. He was probably carried out in a conquistadora's saddlebag.
The mask of the Mexican rain god, Tlaloc, dating from the year 1400 AD, is covered with thousands of microscopic ceramic tiles and must be carried carefully by hand. Appropriately different is the means of arrival of the great clay and stone rendering of Tlaloc, a key piece in the Dallas Museum's pre-Columbian collection.
God, he looks different up here. Holy cow.
Perhaps the most ephemeral and yet demanding task confronting the curatorial staff is the final placement and hanging of pictures on the gallery walls. Though months have been spent in planning with models, a 10-centimeter painting often looks different than its 10-foot counterpart.
You wouldn't want to just try and move it back.
You can probably, if you have two verticals and then a horizontal, it looks like something out of the Yin and I Ching or something.
Yeah, but there's something about this that looks too pat. I mean, it's so, there's the horizontal picture in the middle of these two verticals, and it's sort of, and beyond that, the Pollock just doesn't look so good.
So you'd like to go back to plan A?
Yeah.
I think that's probably better.
That's definitely better.
On January 29, 1984, the new Dallas Museum of Art was open to the public. Conspicuous by its absence from the barrel-vaulted gallery was the museum's long-awaited centerpiece, the new Claes Oldenburg sculpture. Claes Oldenburg was still in North Haven, Connecticut, finishing Stay Kitsch. Finally, on a perfect Texas April day, the Oldenburg arrives. Each piece of the giant sculpture is hoisted over the garden wall and brought in through a section of removed windows.
All right, now we got to start swinging the other way. It's going good.
Where's Knott's Landing going to be?
Knott's Landing is right. Just come right around this way. All right, we're gonna have to hold, slow down. Watch the top. You're gonna get close on the top, Billy. Keep talking to us up there.
You only got 2 inches like that, but you turn it back here, I got close to this foot.
Just hold it just like that, just like that.
Okay.
Go back the other way with it.
Hold it just like it is for a minute.
It's a very tight fit, which is the way it should be.
Yeah, of course, but it's pretty...
You see the screw eye is placed exactly so that it hangs in just the right way. That we experimented with just to get it perfect and attached it.
But it's also very scary if with the rigging the whole rope will not get out of shape.
No, it's yeah, they have to be very careful.
Yeah, they have to be very careful.
Billy! All the sculptures are based on common objects. So this stake really began as a nail penetrating the ceiling here, which was the first idea for doing something which would link the ceiling with the floor.
In the basement, the point of the stake, which Oldenburg imagines has pierced the floor above, is hoisted into place.
All right, you're gonna put the points right into it that way.
Well, let's do something.
All right.
Rest it on it. Come on down.
That's not enough pad. It's gonna go right through that, guaranteed. That foam is. Man.
All right, wait a second. We're going to lose that.
Not according to this bolt.
No, it's all right. It's good. Go on the way up like that, all the way. If anything, we can pull it down with a rope down here. But it's not gonna, pretty good.
Now, is it light or heavy?
No, it's all right. It's good. Go on the way up like that, all the way. If anything, we can pull it down with a rope down here. But it's not gonna, pretty good. The history of museums is replete with ego fulfillment on the part of individuals. But what's really important here is ego fulfillment for a whole city.
This program is made possible by a grant from Citicorps.